When you're faced with a difficult situation in life, okay, this is also mainly directed toward Josh and Rick. If you're faced with a difficult situation in life, the first saying says that you have to face it, okay? But how do you also remain content with it? Can you think about that for a second? It seems the two things go against each other, right? It's not possible to go through a tough time and be content with it. But when you think about it, this is a fallacy. Because if you're not really trying your hardest to get out of this tough situation, then you can't be content, really. But if you're trying your best to get out of this situation, even if the results are not realized immediately, and I assure you they will eventually, you will sense some contentment knowing that you tried your best. Okay, so contentment is the greatest treasure. Fine. But what is the essential ingredient to be content or to be happy? That's another question to think about. What truly makes us happy inside? It's not the largest paycheck or the largest hotel chain. The answer is inner peace. Inner peace makes us happy. True happiness comes from within. And this is where Sarada Devi's third saying comes in. Jodi shanti pete chas, tobe onner dosh dekhish na. If you want inner peace, don't find faults in others. So true. We all have the stresses of everyday life. Do we really need to add to that by finding faults in other people? I think we make things a lot easier on ourselves if we let others handle their own issues. Okay, in the context of finding true happiness, let me share a story. A man had misplaced his ring. He was looking for it. He didn't remember where he had lost it, but he was looking for it under the lamppost in front of his house on a dark night. A neighbor saw him and he asked him what he was looking for. And the man replied he had lost his ring, and he couldn't remember where he had lost it. So naturally the neighbor asked him why he was looking for it under the lamppost. So the man replied, well, because it's convenient, it's very well lighted there. So since it was well lighted, he was looking for it. Now, this sounds really silly at first, but when you think about it, aren't we all doing the same thing? Only instead of a ring, we're looking for happiness in all the wrong places. We're looking for happiness in higher income jobs, or in some cases in clubs, or in partying and drinking. Whereas all we really need to do is look within ourselves to be happy. Now let's move on to the next level. How can this happiness come from within? For most of us, it is hard to be happy by just wishing it. Although it is possible for some higher spiritual minds, people with a higher spiritual level, they can be happy by just wishing it. But for us, common people, it's very difficult to be happy just because we want to. So how do we generate, quote unquote, generate this happiness from within? The answer lies in the essence of karma yoga, or devotion to one's work or action. Karma yoga is one of the four main paths of yogi life. The other three being bhakti yoga, which is devotion to prayer, jnana yoga, or devotion to wisdom or knowledge, and raja yoga, which is devotion to oneness with God or meditation. Now, the essence of karma yoga is best explained in an article by Swami Atmaganananda. Atmagyan means self-realization in Bengali, so that's where that name comes in. But he is the resident head of the Vedanta Society in Washington, D.C. And I had the pleasure of meeting him in Pittsburgh when he visited the Pittsburgh Ramakrishna Vedanta Mutt, which is 10 minutes from where I live there. And he was actually, he's an American. He was born in Pennsylvania of Jewish faith. And he was attracted to Vedantic philosophy in his early years. And he moved to India to obtain his brahmacharya and sannyas, which are levels of monkhood. And he is more commonly known as Stuart Maharaj, after his birth name. So in the article, he mentions that many years ago, while he was in the Vedanta ashram in Pasadena, California, one of his projects was to restore the shrine that Swami Vivekananda himself had used while he was staying there in 1900. Now, while working on this project, he was suddenly very much overwhelmed that he was working on the shrine that was used by such a great man, and he exercised great power in completing the project. Now, soon after, his next project was nearly not as endearing. He was assigned to restore a stand for an old pump motor in the ashram shed. Deep into that project, one of his fellow monks asked him, "Are you building another shrine?" And it was then that he realized that unknowingly he was exercising the same reverence and attention to detail on this stand project that he had exercised on that shrine project previously. It did not make any difference to him that this new task was much more menial in society's eyes. As he was viewing both projects as an offering to God, both projects were equally satisfying. This, as he explained in the article, was the essence of karma yoga. Work, no matter what kind, is no longer work if it is done with the right attitude or as an offering to a higher power. It is something much more sacred, and it comes much easier. It loses its negative, selfish motive, and it attains a positive, selfless one. Now, in your cases, Josh and Rick, your work in college will be your studies.